What's up, folks? Happy Monday. All over. Weekend is all over. It's Monday. Just like that. Back to the grind. Back to the crazy people. Hope your weekend was good. Gotta get right into it because I got a two-part kind of a thing going on here because last night I didn't get to my trivia question. I realized once it was too late that I left my headphones in my study from my class, for my online classes, so I couldn't do my trivia question. So I'm going to do two parts tonight. So this is part one, and the answer to the previous trivia question was air conditioning. Air conditioning in cars for the first time. This goes back to 1939, folks. This is pretty cool. This is the old Packard car, right? Packard became the first automobile manufacturer to offer factory-installed air conditioning in its cars. Pretty cool thing. The first air conditioning car was displayed at the 40th Annual National Automobile Show in Chicago, Illinois. And let me tell you something about doing research on this trivia question. I found out that this auto show is a huge, huge deal. People do not play around when it comes to this automobile show in Chicago. So this was 1939. Right, and it was advertised as a so-called cutting-edge development in automotive comfort. The Packard prototype that was featured allowed the vehicle's occupants to travel in the comfort of a controlled environment, even on the most hot and humid summer day, something they had never heard of before, folks. Up until then, you just did what my dad always did when we were growing up, driving around a Pinto. You just roll the window. Hey, you. Yeah, roll the window down. You want some air conditioning? Anywho, that's a whole nother therapy session all together. The main air conditioning unit was located behind the rear seat of the Packard, where a special air duct accommodated two compartments, one for the refrigerating coils and one for the heating coils. You just can only imagine what this thing looked like and felt like. The capacity of the air conditioning unit was equivalent to 1.5 tons of ice in 24 hours when the car was driven at highway driving speeds. Okay, so Packard pitched it as not only for comfort, because it was air conditioning and heating, but also for privacy, since riders could finally arrive without having the windows down. They couldn't come up with anything better in the marketing department. Let's pitch it as a private kind of a thing too. Known as the weather conditioner, it was a $279 option, folks. The innovation received widespread acclaim at the auto show, and it was reported that orders were put in for the Packard and for one of these units right there and then. So the hopes were high, right? Not so fast. 270 for a lot of reasons, folks. This did not work out very well. $279 was a lot of money in 1939, and quite frankly, it's a lot of money today. I kind of did the equation on that and studied that, and $279. That's a lot of money today for an add-on. I don't care if it's like what you're adding on to a car that you'd go out and buy in today's day and age, but it's still a lot of money, and it certainly was a lot of money in the Depression pre-war era. Remember, the 1930s was nothing but depression, right? So who had $279 laying around ever, if not for an accessory for a car? Anywho, expensive accessories, and it was an expensive accessory. It's certainly not within the reach of the average American. This is my point. There would not be for several decades. These were very bulky units and were manufactured by a separate company called Bishop and Badcock, located in Cleveland. So what that amounts to, and bottom line's at, is the cars ordered with this option had to be shipped from Packard's East Grand Boulevard facility to the B&B factory where the conversion was performed. So there's way too much back and forth, way too much touching of this final product, folks. And when you're working with a product like a car, which is basically put together in assembly line fashion, that's what you're trying to eliminate is touching the product too much. And this was way too much back and forth. Once complete, the car was shipped to a local dealer after that. So that added another step into the whole process for delivery to customers. The main evaporator and blower system took up half of the trunk space. You can imagine, like I was describing before with the heating and air conditioning coils, this thing was huge. It was a jalopy, right? It had to be shoved into the trunk, and it took up half of that space. It had no temperature thermostat or shut-off mechanism other than switching the blower off. The drive belt was continuously connected to the compressor. Can you just imagine that, right? The several feet of plumbing Going back and forth between the engine compartment and the trunk proved unreliable in service, and I imagine it leaked like a sieve as well. It was a great idea. However, it needed mass improvement. And the option, this option in the Packard in and of itself was discontinued after 1941, when right around when World War II started. So it did not work out. It was innovative, yes, needed some work, definitely. By a couple of geek factoids, by 1969, more than half of all new cars sold were equipped with air conditioners. So it was going to become a standard kind of a thing anyways. After the Freon used in air conditioning units was blamed for depleting the ozone layer, which is a well-established fact, automakers were required to switch to a less harmful refrigerant by 1996. Now, when I saw that factoid, I thought to myself, imagine what people were breathing in, in this old 1939 Packard with this big, huge, cooling and heating coils in the back. Imagine what kind of poison all that was, circulating through your car. For goodness sakes, today's technology allows for dual zone automatic climate control for separate temperature settings for driver and passenger. Some cars have additional zones for rear seat passengers as well. Air conditioning is just like a staple in a car. More than 99% of all new cars today are air conditioned. I don't know what that 1% is. I do. I think I saw it in my my research. If my research serves me correctly, as I'm fond of saying, I believe that 1% was made up of Jeeps. I think there's a Jeep model out there that doesn't come with standard air conditioning. Go figure. It's a Jeep. So, you just take the top off and there's your air conditioning, like you and I were when we were growing up. It is a luxury that U.S. car owners cannot live without now. That's what air conditioning is considered. But it all had its origins in the Packard in 1939. It was pretty cool. Did you get that? I put that in the trivia question as a hint. Pretty cool. Air conditioning, pretty cool. You get it? All righty, then moving right along. All right, folks, here we go for November 6th. Remember, this is part 1 of 2, so we'll go back to November 6th here and fall back on our time accordingly with a brand new trivia question. On this day in 1947, a weekly American political news and interview program broadcasts on NBC for the first time that is still on TV today as the longest-running program on American television, with the tagline that if it's Sunday, then it's this. Good luck, folks. I hope your Sunday was well, and I hope you're ready for a brand new week. And I'll be right back with a new trivia question. Peace out.